Hello, my name is Jorb. I love gear. There's tons of shit on the table right now, but what I'm really going to talk about is the Tascam Model 16 and my MPC Live 2. I'm sure you've seen marketing materials where they use a Model 12, Model 16, or a Model 24 with the MPC, a 1, a Live 2, or an X after this 2.10 update. This 2.10 update included support for class-compliant USB audio interfaces. The Model 16 is that. It's a mixer that will let you do individual outputs over USB to your computer or send individual tracks from a DAW back out to your Model 16, and then you can mix them on an analog board however you want. Pretty cool, right? You can do both of those things within the standalone MPCs with your class compliant mixer over USB into the back of your MPC. Pretty slick, right? So I'm going to show a bunch of the ways you can use those in tandem. At first, I'm going to use these for inputs and put effects on it, and then I'm going to use them as outputs and send all those tracks back into here. Cool? So I recorded this once. I got really frustrated. Down here on the bottom, I'm going to fucking redo this. I centered myself when I started over. But the jam you heard at the beginning is what we're going to use to demonstrate most all of this. I just whipped it up pretty quick. If you are subscribed, really appreciate you coming back. I think we passed 4,200 yesterday, which I'm thrilled by. Thank you all for that. I say it all the time, every threshold feels impossible. If you aren't subscribed, which is quite likely, I encourage you to look around my channel a little bit. If you're into the MPC, which I assume you are because you're watching this, I have a video talking about what it was like to upgrade from an MPC 1000, which I'm quite proud of. I include a key group in there, and I just did a key group with JX3P samples that I really want feedback on. It is pay what you want, $0 and up. Go check it out if you have an MPC. Tell me if it sucks, because I want to do a really good job for my next one, okay? I digress. Let's get into the topic at hand. First thing I'm going to do is show you how everything's connected. I'm going to stand up here with my third camera in my hands. And the way everything is connected, first and foremost, my vocal is coming into line 1 of the Model 16 and then getting sent straight to the main, okay? And then these tracks here between 6 and the combo 9 and 10 are the Mofos on 6, 7 and 8 are the Juno, the 06A. 9 and 10 is the output from the MPC, just the main outs. Okay? And all 4 of those channels, let's go down here on the bottom, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, are sending to, can I get close enough? Just the sub. Okay? And just the sub goes out of those 2 orange cables, right there, those 2 orange cables, comes all the way back underneath some shit into my compressor. This is an FMR audio RNC. Okay, so I'm compressing everything, the Mofo, the Juno, and the MPC, all together through that, but not my vocal. And then the RNC comes back in to this last channel here, 13 and 14. And channel 13 and 14 goes to main, which is this fader. And that fader sends to the control room, which goes up to my camera, which is what you're hearing on the video right now, and my monitors, which are off, and my headphones, which are plugged into the phone's jack right there. You see that? Cool. So that's how everything's routed. Okay? And then the mono send, the top orange knob on all of these, goes out of that one blue cable. Can you see that? That guy. That comes into the Strymon El Capistan. And those 2 green jacks, cables, are in this other channel here, 11, 12. Okay, so it's muted right now. Let's unmute it. We're unmuted now. Cool? And I use that to add a little bit of ambiance to everything. Okay? Just so there weren't any questions, okay? That's how everything's routed right now. And now I'm going to refer back to our MPC. And I haven't picked the Tascam as an audio interface yet. So we're going to start with using this as audio inputs, additional audio inputs for the MPC, okay? And so to set this up as your audio in your interface, go to main, go to the cog, check your second camera to make sure you're recording the screen. Go down to audio device, and see I can also use the 06A, which is pretty cool. We're not going to use it. We're going to use my Tascam Model 16. And then I think it's 4 inputs and 8 outputs by default. That is not enough for what we're trying to do. So we're going to go to 32 ins and outs mode, and it'll have to restart to do that. So yes, I'm going to save what I changed on my project. While the sucker reboots, I'll open it up again. Okay. And notice when I play it, we're not hearing the drums because nothing is coming out of the MPC anymore. And so let's go to my track mode here. We can see that they're all clicking in, they're all happening, right? And so even already I need to use this also as outputs. And so what I'm going to do is unplug these just for the visual. And now instead of having all that information come from the back of the MPC, we're just going to send it over USB. So the first thing you want to do is click your Model 16 over to the middle. So when you have USB mode, direct means you're listening to the top. PC means whatever's on the other end of the USB cable. Right now, that is my MPC. So back to main. I'm going to go to all my drum parts. I'm going to pull up their channel strips. I'm going to change their output to 9 and 10 because 9 and 10 is what we had available on our mixer here, and that's what we clicked to PC. So if I do that, we're hearing everything. Okay, and notice this is the channel strip for our program. So all the drum parts showing this program change at the same time together. Cool. So snare, hats, and kick are all in this program 1, which I will name now to save confusion. But this one program, so if I change this to 7/8 and then I change our track to snare, look, it says 7/8. But if I change it to 9 and 10, gain doesn't do anything, but your fader down here does. Cool. I think I have that back to where I want it. What I want to do is get the audio from our synths. Right now it's just these 3 channels into the MPC. So I'm going to go to my audio tracks, and track 1, I'm going to make the MoFo. Change it to MoFo. Its inputs are going to be input 6, just mono, because that's what's on our mixer. Okay, and now if I hit play, I have, let's do this on solo, then monitor in. There's going to be a lot of playing with the monitor settings, okay? So to go over them, for audio tracks, in means it'll always pass what comes in. And the input for this right now is channel 6 on our Tascam, okay? Auto means it'll pay attention to your record arm status. So if your record arm is on and you're on auto, it'll be in. If you're on auto and it's off, it'll be what's already recorded in that audio track, which right now is nothing, which is fine. That's what we want. I want to set this to in so we're always hearing what's coming through this audio track, right? It's going to be our bass. And I'm also going to mute it here on the channel. Okay? And then I need to send it out somewhere else because right now, out 1 and 2 aren't set up to look at the MPC. Okay? And so I need a stereo return somewhere. For this, for me, I'm going to unmute these tracks 3 and 4 and put them both to the middle selection, and then change the outputs for this to be 3 and 4. And we'll listen. Actually, I'm going to mute everything else. Okay. Everything's muted. If I unmute 3 and 4, I hear just the bass. We can see it ticking up here, okay? But if I mute those, and down here on channel 6, I unmute, I hear the same thing. Plus our send to the effects. So I won't do that with 3 and 4 yet, okay? So this is making it all the way to 3 and 4. But let's say I want to add effects. I can do that right here on the MPC. So if I just turn on, I'll do the normal one, air delay. Cool. Let's say I want to do reverb. That sounds horrible. Anything. I could do any effects on any of our channels like that. Okay, so I'm going to set up. Now I'm going to do a similar thing. We're going to go to our next track, our next audio track, and you need to add it manually. And I want to listen to the JU06A. So I want the input to be what's on my mixer, 7 and 8. And I want the output to be where we're monitoring it on the board. For me, that's 3 and 4. So 1 tick up. I monitor in. There that is. Awesome. And 9 and 10 is our drums. So here that comes again when I unmute it. Let's send some of these to the delay here, to the L cap. Cool. Okay. So there's our inputs. And again, I'll show you. Let's turn off this send to the effects. And then if I go to, I want to go to main and then track view. And now, and you get in this mess of you can mute things here, you can mute things here. And I'm getting a little lost now, even though I planned this out pretty carefully. But let's do this. So right now we're just hearing the audio channels from the MPC. Let's go down to just the Juno, and I turned off the chorus and the delay. And if I want to go and on audio tracks, and let me play just to see it tick up, that's the one I want to edit. Go to our inserts. Okay, and I can add whatever I want. Let's do chorus, multi-chorus, sure. Perfect. And a delay. There you go. So, and back to main and our audio tracks. And then I'll go to the track view. I will unmute the bass. Wonderful. And I could set up any effects here, the ducker, sidechain, anything I wanted, as if they were plugged directly into the back of the MPC. And that's that first cool, like, oh, right, I can do anything I could do if this was plugged in. Plus, you have the flexibility of all these channels and routing them however you want. Cool? Okay. I also want to record my effects chain, my L cap out. And so that's on 11 and 12. Change the input to be 11 and 12. Change the output to be where we're monitoring the MPC. For me, that's 3 and 4. Okay, and I'm sending, so here we are sending a bit of our left and right into that mono mix that comes into the Let's clean that up so we can actually hear it. There it is. Yeah, it gets a little muddy with the other effects, but it's in there. So just to show you, oh, it doesn't have to be an audio input. It can be what I'm sending somewhere else, right? So you can have your whatever you want outputted from the MPC, be that internal effects, stuff you've recorded, stuff that's coming from the mixer already into your effects chains. And with the Tascam, it's mono sends. You could do equal amounts of the mono. They're monitor sends. I keep saying mono, but they are in mono. But you could do each of them at the same amount and send the left and right to a stereo effects chain. But I'm just using it in mono because I think mono split into stereo delay is more than fine. Okay, and remember, 9 and 10 is still our drums. Cool. So there's a good first example of how this all works. Okay. Let's say, for example, I like all that, but I want to print that to audio. And so I'm just going to record the MoFo, and I never renamed this. Let me rename that. The JU06A is named as well. And the L cap. So back in our track view. let's say I want to record this as audio and then either bounce them out of here or mix them in here or finish editing my track totally within the MPC. If I arm multiple tracks at a time, for me that's shift. There's a setting where it'll do that behavior by default. But if I record those and then record and play start, it'll count in. Okay, and now I can go to the individual audio tracks, and here is the El Cap, and there's the Juno, and there's the Mofo. And so I can solo this now. I change the monitoring to off. I'll just hear what's in here. Or if it's on auto, that'll work now as well. And we had the delay going, but I'll mute that track here. Wonderful. Turn off solo, move down to the Juno, same thing. Oops, missed. And then go off of in. Cool, and I could have recorded that with any parameter changes or live performance elements that I wanted. And now I have this as audio to mix however I want, bounce with a resample to a final track. Any of those options are totally here. Cool. And now that we have it like that, maybe we want to mix this down on the Model 16. And this kind of is our transition into primarily using this as an output device. And so we already did 9 and 10 for the drums, right? And so I'm going to unplug these other jacks here. So the Juno would have been 7 and 8. And 6 would have been the Mofo. And I'm going to go back to our track view, and I'm going to change the output for these. So the Mofo is just going to output on output 6. And the Juno is just going to output on both 7 and 8. And I'm going to leave the El Cap to output on 11 and 12. Then unmute everything. Hit play. What do we hear? Things are still muted. Oh, I think I have something left on solo. Yes, I do. Turn that off. Turn that off. And now I've got that all going. 6, 7, and 8 all go to this middle switch here, right? Because where do we want it to get information from? Not the jacks. There's nothing plugged in. We want to get it from the MPC. Whoops. I'm noticing now that's on sub 6. Thank you guys for telling me. I can unplug that because we recorded a passive. Okay, and I forgot to change this last one to look at the MPC, which is on there now. I can listen to just this middle bit, just the delayed line coming through this last channel here, 11 and 12, or I can unmute 7 and 8, or my drums, or my bass part, all on their own. And so now either this is my way of interacting with the mute screen, right? Maybe now I don't want to do it on the MPC. If I want to build my track here, I can do it with these faders. You know what I mean? I can bring things in one at a time. And mix them here, you know, whatever I want to do. And then if I want to print them, the Tascam, you can record 16 tracks individually onto a SD card. I don't have one in right now, but you handle all that on the screen. Maybe that's the way I mix my track down to audio finally, is I get everything recorded through some combination of internal parts of the MPC, sequencing MIDI, and then recording that with the Model 16. And then when I finally want to finish the track or print it out or get it into a DAW, I can do 16 individual tracks recorded right here via the Tascam. Or maybe I have a Model 12 and I use that and I have all my tracks there and I change their levels live and I mix all my drum parts live, which, and I have all my drums coming through 9 and 10 together because that's the way I run my programs normally. But if you have your kick, your hats, your toms on anything separate, you can run them through individual tracks or a few on a stereo track or a pair of mono tracks. Really, There's so many options. I've been recording for about a half hour. I think that might honestly be good, but I just meant to show you where do you click to change these settings to interact. I showed you everything for inputs. I showed you everywhere for outputs. And now it's just deciding what's the way that this is going to work with you in your workflow, right? Do you have a bunch of external gear that you want to put into the task cam and record live to the MPC? Or maybe you want to get all your sequences worked out on the MPC, have 16 channels of external gear running into the task cam, yeah? And then you could record those individual tracks, all 16 simultaneously, onto their own multi-track recording here, just on the task cam. So really what this video I'm trying to show you is these are all the ways you can work with these two devices together, okay? And now you have more options. If you're comfortable with the task cam on its own, you can spend more time using it, and maybe you want to mix in a way that prioritizes this and uses its switch in the third position multi-track recording, and maybe you record everything onto your SD card and then switch every channel to the multi-track recording and then do your mix down and your EQing on the Model 16. The possibilities are really, really endless. And it's such a cool thing that these work in tandem. It's really easy to get lost in the things I will highlight. Make sure if you're not hearing audio when you expect to hear audio, come back to your switch. Make sure that this is pointing to where you want it to be coming from. If you want it from the jacks, it's on the left. If you want it from the MPC, it's in the middle. If you want it from the Tascam's multi-track recorder, that's on the right. An easy way to see a lot of your problems at once will be to scroll through the track view. What's muted? What's monitoring? What's recording? Where do I have inputs coming in and out right now? The track view is a great way to see it all at once, right? If I'm here and I expect to hear my drums and I don't see them here, then I know the problem's here. If I only don't hear them, but I see my levels bouncing up here, okay, then I'll check the task cam. So anyway, I could go on and on. I hope this was helpful. It's kind of tricky because there's redundancies. You could mute in 100 places, and not even to mention that you can mix individual pads differently in individual tracks and programs and sends. It can get really, really messy. And maybe that even the one part of this video that was helpful to you is the way I run my compressor or the way I run my El Cap. But in general, I hope the most valuable part of this was watching somebody actually navigate these things on the MPC when they set it up. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. I'll do my best to help you. Or if you guys know this stuff well, spend some time in the comment section and maybe help somebody else out, because I'm not the be-all end-all for this. But anyway, okay, I could talk forever. My name's Jorb. I love gear. That includes everything on this table. I hope you stick around. Hope I see you in the next one. So long. Goodbye. Whew. Sheesh.